Hey guys, we are living the authentic life, and our guest today is a woman who I absolutely adore. Her energy, her style, her zest for life, her commitment to motherhood, her fabulous husband. We met years ago. I don't even know when or how, but it's like every time I see you, you light up the room. So welcome to light up our guest rooms today. And we're turning the lens on you because you're normally in this seat.
I'm in the hot seat today, which is really interesting.
You are, and I hardly sent you any notes. So thanks for trusting me. I'm not going to ask you anything you don't want to tell unless you want to start with that.
No, yeah, right, exactly.
Well, unless you want to get something off your chest.
I know. Well, it's funny, Danae, is everything you just said about me, I'm honored and I'm touched, but I feel exactly the same about you. I feel like people come into your life for a reason and not a season. And that's how I feel about you. I don't remember how we met, but instantly I was attracted to you in a way that I want to be your friend. And anytime I've reached out, you always help or have some guidance, help in the way that I'm looking for a bag, I need a bag, or I want this, help me make the right choice. Or even just, leaning on you as far as business or mom stuff, all of it, you light up the room. So thanks for being my friend for so long. It's been 20 years, I think.
I think it has. And it is interesting, as we go along, who we pick up and who we keep, right?
Yeah.
And you've been through so many different seasons of your life. And as Rob said to you when you walked in today, he's like, "Oh, you're not showing the guns today," meaning her incredible arms. So you've been on such a great health journey.
I have.
And it seems like you've figured out this work, health, personal life, family life balance that we as women really struggle with.
100%. And I feel like women, we have to make those choices all the time, right? Am I going to work? Am I going to continue the career? Am I going to lead the family? Am I going to be the one for we're making all of these choices, sadly, all the time. There's a reason why women have babies, right? We can power through and do the things, but we shouldn't have to make those sacrifices or choices, right? I mean, it's unfortunate. There are many times in my life that I've had to sit down and make those decisions, hard decisions, And
I think that's the thing that I love sharing about in podcasts, because people look at us and say, "I want that." And you're like, "Oh, you got to do a lot of stuff you don't want to do to get to this." And you have to have vision. And I had this great conversation. We're going to work with my neighbor's daughter across the street, and she's in PR, and she decided to make a life change. And she's a young 20-something because she was living in New York and it wasn't giving her the life she wanted.
Right.
And I said, "Do you know how incredible it is at 20-something that you're not mesmerized by living the dream of being in the city, but you're clearly delineating what you want for your future and you're making choices based upon that."
And what's really interesting is that she knows it, right? At that moment, she's saying, this is not what I want to do or where I want to continue. A lot of us make those realizations much later in life. And so taking those little signs, absolutely. And living with regret, I'm so glad you said that. There were so many times throughout my career that I said to myself and to my husband, but a lot to myself internally, was I was living with a lot of regret on many stages of life. And so, I do also want to caution people by saying looking in and seeing all this, be careful what you wish for and what you think you're wishing for, because a lot of times in my life, and I share a lot of this. My life is not perfect. We don't live in a giant palatial house. We don't have a boat. We don't have a second house, all of those things. It is a very normal family for us. But I like to describe this as, a duck in a pond looks so happy and just kicking through life, but so underneath the water, and that's me on a daily basis. On a daily basis, I'm thinking, where should I be? What have I forgotten? Who do I need to pick up? And I'm in a constant disarray. It's kind of funny. And I am so much like my mom. I have now realized it. I am really like her because I I have 3 calendars, and I still can't get it right. I still can't.
Oh, yes. We need an army, not a village, an army
Yeah.
to help us get it right. And I feel like when I talk to women who have spent a lot of time in career and family, that there's this stage of life you go to where you feel guilty when you're working, you're not with the family, and you feel guilty when you're at the family that you're not at work. Because I've also taken on my work family as my family.
Right.
So Rob and I are the mom and dad.
Yeah.
And I want to be there. And I tell them, like, I've hired you so I can go do these things that is best for the overall growth of the company. But I couldn't do it if you weren't here helping to be a part of it.
Because you can't be here all the time.
Exactly. But you need to know how it all works. And I think that's the other thing, is that we've done so much work. Like, I've priced so many bags. I've researched so many things. I've spent so much time doing the work. You researching stories, understanding people, understanding what people want to hear, understanding what makes people excited and light up. Like, it doesn't just happen.
No.
It's the 10,000 hour rule or the 100,000 hour rule.
Exactly.
And then it changes. Once you get it figured out, you're like, oh.
We're not doing that anymore?
Oh,
I know.
What's that new video thing you have to post on TikTok? I haven't even figured out Instagram.
Right.
I remember that talk I had with you one day at a Christy Lynn event on the porch with Jennifer Cope, and I'm like, I just can't do it all. And y'all were like, just let it be enough.
Yeah. Or, the saying is too, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I mean, you just have to figure
Absolutely.
out, you're not going to get it all done in the day. And
Right.
so prioritizing, which I figured out, is the key. And I have a daily list that I like to keep, that I know what I'm doing, even if it's picking up my kids. I mean, that is because I'm on a carpool situation for my little. And so I have to put that down, even though in my head mentally I know what time I need to be at school, but I can cross that off my list.
I love
and
the
I know
cross
what,
off.
yeah, because you feel accomplished. Right?
You
I mean,
do.
there are days there are
Even
less on that
work
list,
out.
but my walk, my workout, Oscar time, whatever it is always on that list.
Who's
100
Oscar?
My dog. Our dog. My
I love
four-legged
that.
son.
Yes, I know. Grace
He needs
Kelly.
his exercise too.
Exactly. Well, no, and it's true. And like this morning, I'm like, Grace Kelly, go potty, go potty, go potty. And of course, when you want them to do something, they
No,
never
they just
do
stare
it.
at you.
Exactly. Like, what? Huh? Okay, so how do you know when it's time to transition?
As far as like a new chapter?
A new chapter in life, because you've had so many chapters. I've had chapters. I don't know that everyone listening knows. I had a 22-year career in the construction industry. I was selling marble and granite and on job sites and wearing hard hats, and now I'm the vintage Contessa.
Right. Well, it's funny. I talked a lot about this where I was living had a lot of regret in my life. And
Oh, that's your water, by the way.
Oh, thank
and
you.
you can be free to
Thank
do
you so much. I don't know that there's ever a time to take that leap or when the right time is, right? And there are instances in life where you figure out, okay, it's going to be this day and this is where I'm going to make the change, and it happens. I feel like once the pros and the con lists start to kind of come out of balance, that's when you really need to make a decision or really take a hard look at what's going on, whether it's career, life, whatever that is, and make that decision of how am I going to be happier? What do I need to do to get myself to where I need to be? And a lot of times those visions are not very clear. I like my mother, I'm very much one of these people that's like, we're going to figure it out. I'm not per se a planner. I don't have vision boards. I don't meditate. I'm just not wired that way. I'm a realist, and in a way that like, okay, it's not today and it's not tomorrow, and I'm okay with that, but it's going to happen.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah. And I don't know, that's just how it works for me.
And I love that you're saying that, because everybody's got to figure it out on their own.
Everybody has to figure it out.
One of my things I went back to read on my vision board that came true was Rob to buy into marketing, because it took a while.
Yeah, for him to kind of come on board.
To really drink the Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
as I call it. And Wacky Watch Wednesday is drinking the Kool-Aid. But like, so you have been in and out of media, but and I think people get pigeonholed with what their job is when really you've been doing the same thing, just in different formats of the way you express it.
Yeah.
It's not changed.
It really isn't. I mean, it's definitely, it was a natural transition for me because look, I'm going to tell you this now. I knew at a very young age what I wanted to do when I grew up. I knew I wanted to be a reporter. I knew I wanted to be on TV. I knew I wanted to tell stories. It was a matter of getting there and how I was going to do that. So I climbed that ladder. I got every job I ever wanted, in the fact that not every job I applied for I didn't get. But what I'm saying is that career path, it happened. And so it wasn't, I mean, I set out to do that, and I did it. And I did it for 20 plus years. It's a grind. It is a grind. It's not as glamorous as everybody thinks it is. There's no clothing allowance. There's none of that. None of that is happening.
And the timing to be there to get the news out, and what you, and I want to go back to, because I feel like some people mistake this word. You said we find things that make us happy, but to achieve real joy in life, you have to do a lot of things along the way that aren't comfortable,
right,
or easy,
and
don't necessarily make you feel a lot of joy at the moment.
No, I mean, majority of my career, Danae, I was meeting people at their worst possible moment in their lives, the worst. And here's this stranger knocking on their door at midnight, 10:30, 12 p.m., whatever, and trying to get them to talk to me, convincing them at their worst part of their life. Wow. And, you know, I did meet people at their best part too, but I got to tell you, the only reason why reporters are there is because something bad has happened. And so that skill set, I never really understood or thought, like, how does that translate to the real world? Because when it comes time to, like, a reporter or a TV person putting together a resume, it's a totally different world. How does what I do translate into the real world? Well, I mean, like, there were days where I had multiple deadlines. I mean, construction, my husband's in real estate with, you know, a global company, and he has projects that he works on for years. And I'm like, the second I walk out of that building, my projects are done. I was never part of an investigative unit. Those parts just never appealed to me because I wanted a one and done. I wanted my deadlines to be done daily. I didn't want any of this carrying over my head. I did have long-term projects, but not all the time. But, you know, it gets tiring telling these stories all the time on doom and gloom. And so now...
And it wears on your heart because you might not be an empath, but you're very passionate and you connect.
I didn't take those moments lightly. I mean, I have become friends with people whose children have been murdered, whose children who had gone missing and have never been found, where I, you know, have connected with these people. I've gone to people's family funerals in those moments, right? And because at the end of the day, for whatever reason, I mean, it wasn't taken lightly that they sat down with me and told their story or had a chance. And at the end of the day, I was hoping, like, maybe it was a little bit of therapy for them, you know? But again, on the other side of that, selfishly speaking, I had a job to do. I had people hounding me. Did you get it? Did you get the interview? Are we going live at 5? I mean, it was, all of the humanness was removed from that side. Right? From those people that sit in the building and never have to knock on a door or ask somebody to spill their guts out to you, to a perfect stranger. So, you know, those moments are so hard. And I can't even tell you all of them. There are probably a handful that I do remember, either on the scene of something unfolding where you're hearing a parent scream, blood-curdling screams because they are realizing the finality of who they were looking for or the end of that story, right? Like, those are moments I'll never forget. I'll also never forget the very first time I heard somebody in a courtroom being sentenced to death. Never forget that.
Wow. Yeah, I don't even think about you hear it and you're like, oh, the poor family, but you're not thinking about like the humanality of, and that's not probably a word, human, but like the human essence of someone's been sentenced to death. And as a Catholic, we're not supposed to believe in the death sentence, but then I'm Italian, so I have a lot of Sicilian vengeance where I'm like,
Right.
certain people deserve to die. So, but then to be there and know it and see the person, I think that really, for anybody that has.
I remember that day like it was yesterday, and it was in Midland, in a courtroom in Midland, Texas.
Wow.
And I could tell you what I had on, what the convicted person was wearing, the story. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. And I mean,
Wow.
I have been in many courtrooms, covered many cases, all of it. But that was just an impactful as a young reporter. I mean, when would I ever be in a courtroom?
Why people connected with you so much and you were so successful is that you were able to get the job done and not fall apart.
Yeah.
Because you're affected, but then also that they really felt your energy of compassion for what they went through. And that's when people confide in you and give you the information as if they trust you. And it's hard to get anyone's trust that quickly when you're in a vulnerable place, I think.
Because at the end of the day, I was still asking them to do something, right? Like I was still...
And they're like, I can't even pull myself together to quit crying.
Right, like, or who are you? You know,
Exactly.
I mean, I'm also introducing myself and trying, doing all of that, knowing I have a deadline looming. So, still trying to get my job done, but again, be compassionate and not rush somebody to talk to me. But yet rush somebody.
Like, I gotta get this. Can you say that faster?
Right.
Can you give me the soundbite? Okay, so I feel like, have you read Outliers?
No.
By Malcolm Gladwell. So they talk about there's certain times in life when certain opportunities came up, like when all the big Michael Dell and Microsoft, like all these, computers were coming out and they had access to computers. So one of our outlier moments is Instagram. Like it's because we're also mothers, we see the detriment with our kids and what it's doing to our communities, but we have this way to reach people that wasn't there 20 years ago.
No.
If you weren't on TV, you could not, there was no YouTube channel.
Yeah, there was no other platform.
It was a magazine that had a date closing or a newspaper.
Right.
So it has changed the way people get news.
100%. And people, the way that the masses are watching has completely changed. I mean, the business is totally different than it was when I entered it 20 plus years ago.
Absolutely.
No one's waiting till 5 or 10 to get their headlines. I mean, the headlines are instant. And we're sitting here doing a podcast. I mean, this would never happen anywhere. So anyone can do anything and get their message out, which is mind-blowing and fascinating at the same time.
It is. And then that's the hard part, right? You have so many choices.
Yeah.
So many things you can listen to. How do you choose what to listen? And for me, I love that you said about eating the elephant. That's so great. Like people can tell me things that they're doing for their podcast. And I guess like there's all these categories of what we could spend our time doing in a day, right?
Right.
So my podcast, I started small. I was like, if just a few people watch and listen, if I get to know the guests better, if I touch a few lives, that's enough for me.
Right.
And I'm happy with that. So, but it is hard as women who are very driven. We look at numbers. So, and your numbers are amazing on your Instagram.
Thank
and
you.
And how many real people, because we know there's a lot of fake people, but everywhere you go, when I'm with you, people know you. People sometimes know me, but they always know you. They always know Deborah. Like you woke people up, you put people to sleep. Let's talk a little bit about some of those things.
So, I love meeting people that say, oh my gosh, I used to watch you on the weekend mornings and I love connecting with you here. And, those are moments that I can never take away because it was fun for me too. I mean, when I was a weekend morning anchor, it was me and the camera. I had weather and traffic or in sports or something like that, but there was nobody else bouncing. Me bouncing the jokes were like you, me, and the camera or the camera guy. So that was it. And I don't know, it was a lot of fun for me to do that. But transitioning here and growing my social media following has been really fun. And it's been an organic growth since day one. And I'm grateful for that. I love when I see like new followers, because it makes me, they clicked on it for some reason and then followed for another. And I think, that is awesome. I can't say thank you enough, because, there's so many options out there and so many people, and I'm not 22. So our audience is a little bit different. And I don't know, I'm having a lot of fun with it, really.
So how do you decide what your week looks like? Are you planning ahead? Is that kind of organic? Like, how does all that process?
A lot of it is planned ahead, just because it's a social calendar, right? I mean, there's a lot of events. Truth be told, there is an event that we're both going to today that, thank God, Danae told me about. I mean, it is on my calendar, but it's on my paper calendar and not on my phone calendar, and
That's
all the
the hard
things.
part about having a lot of calendars.
So, a lot of that is planned. I'm working with a lot of brands, and so my posting calendar is certainly planned out weeks in advance. There are things that change just based on what's happening and timing, or what needs to go live on my feed. So there's a little bit of wiggle room. Stories, organic. I don't know what I'm talking about, when I'm talking about it. It just kind of happens. But the actual grid feed is planned out.
Absolutely.
Ahead of time.
And so we kind of go online and we can look at what's trending, but I feel like it is interesting. We can plan ahead, but then these things happen in the midst of our plans, right? Or like this world event happens, and then you see controversy over it. I've kind of stayed out of the political realm, the weighing in on any significant things. I did have a moment where I posted something about the Ukraine, and the next day my whole Instagram feed was taken down for like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. So I noticed yours tries to be a little bit more light. We talk about charity.
Yeah. My background obviously is in news. And so
Hard
news. And so I have taken what I learned and what I, shouldn't be talking about or showing my views on something. I had to stay very neutral. And I don't want a platform where I'm triggering people for whatever emotion. There are certain things that I'll laugh about and say, this might trigger somebody, for something, and maybe it's, I don't know, food related or whatever. But I feel like there are some moments that just need to be private. And a lot of those things, like I don't want my platform to
be a controversy.
To be a controversy.
Or
I want people
and pain.
to come to me for whether that's fashion, food, fun. I mean, I even say lifestyle, but I'm not an aesthetic design person. Like that is not. That's not what I'm doing. Like that is not my forte anyway. I mean, a lot of it is poking fun at myself. And self-deprecating, because I'm not perfect. I have a jiggly tummy. I've had 2 babies. Like, I don't have my lips done. I hate my lips. I talk about that all the time. Somebody asked me something, somebody posted something, this was a while ago, about like, and it was a dude. Sorry. It was a dude. About like, oh, wow, look at all that filler in her face and those lips. And I'm like, well, I'd like to fire whoever did that. Because there's no filler in these lips. Like, there's nothing. And I talk about how I hate my lips all the time. I don't have an upper lip. It's just drawn on, people, like that, And if I were going to do it, you'd probably see the injections going in. Like if that were going to happen.
I would share that story because I want you to know. Well, I did it. I did do the lip filler once. And for some reason, I had so much pain here that I could feel the injection pain for like 4 weeks, like tingling or
Yeah.
almost like it. And I was like, and also I just don't like that whole look thing. So it's not for me, but everybody's got to do what they want. The funniest thing was, though, recently I met this darling girl at River Oaks District, and I just left the hats in the park lunch, and I had this huge hat on, and she's like, "Oh, are you the vintage Contessa? Can I take a picture with you?" I'm like, "Sure, tag me." And she used a screen on my face. It didn't even look like me. And my friends are like, "Oh, who stole your look? Who is it?" And I was a little, if she's watching, I was a little upset that she felt like she needed to change my face in the picture.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing. Like, I do highlight. I do use that lighting thing.
Right.
But I don't use the change your face structure thing. And people meet me sometimes and they're like, "Wow, you look like your pictures." I'm like, "Is that unusual?"
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So let's talk beauty, because you've really invested in that and you have this incredible mask out. So share with us.
Absolutely. You know, beauty has always been a part of my routine since I was little. I mean, and I owe that to my mom and my 2 aunts. They were really have been my mentors my whole life. I don't have sisters, and so my mom and her sisters really just took that on. Erno Laszlo was the very first skincare line that Aunt Dorothy introduced me to with the Sea Mud soap.
Aunt Dorothy, I love that.
I know. And so that, like, you know, that I've had a routine. I've had several products since I was very little. And so
interesting.
The makeup and skincare has always been part of who I am. And it was a year ago, like February, March-ish, that I was introduced to Source Vital, which is this really incredible skincare company right here in Houston. They're also the owners of Sanctuary Spa, Day Spa here. So they're tried and true when it comes to skincare and the spa world and all of that. And so I went to them at the time because I really just wanted to streamline my skincare. I felt like I was using a lot of different things.
It gets confusing.
And maybe I shouldn't have been using everything at the same time.
How does that chemical react to this?
Look, and I get a lot done. I just had a laser done on my face.
Which
That's
is
why
amazing.
It's so pink.
You
but
were here.
It's not that I'm not doing those things.
Yeah.
I get Botox. You know, I show videos of all of that. Hydrofacials, all of those things. But my skincare, I felt like there were too many products.
Right.
So in the conversation with them, really loved what I started using with Source Vital. We decided to collaborate together and find a product that I was missing in my collection, you know, and maybe what they were missing as well. So I gave them some ideas, worked with their chemist, came up with, you know,
in Houston. It all happens here.
All happens here.
So cool, right?
Right on Post Oak, near the Audi School and IKEA. That's where where they make all the magic and where their storefront is as well. So once we, you know, the minds all kind of met together, and then the chemist went to work and created all these ingredients and figured out what was going to be put in the bottle. You know, they were like, would email me, "Oh, it's growing in a petri dish. We're making sure all of these things can be in there together and not grow bacteria," and all these things. So it was fascinating.
Wow.
10 months later, the Courtney Mask launched, and I'm so excited for it. You were there for it.
Cool.
It's, of course, signature Courtney pink, which I absolutely love. And the reason why it's pink is because it's my favorite color, but it also comes from dragon fruit. So it's not a chemical. It's not a dye. Everything in there is supposed to be in there as far as ingredient based. It's cooling. I use it as a makeup primer. I use it as a overnight sleep mask to give you that glow and to pump up the skin. All for skin tones, all skin color can wear this and use this mask, which is fantastic. I love it.
And just so cool that you were able to create it here in Houston. You were able to be a part of it. And I feel like we are looking at not just what we put in our bodies, but what we put on our bodies.
Absolutely.
You've been on a very public health journey in doing so incredible to stay fit. So share a little bit about how that whole everything interacts.
Well, it's all, I'm also, besides beauty, working out has always been a big part of my life and who I am. I love it. I call it like getting the cobwebs out of my head. I need to get that hour in, 30 minutes minimum every day. And with my demanding work schedule and kids and all of that, the workouts, as we know, tend to fall to the bottom of the list. It just kind of happens, right?
I'm letting it happen.
And right now in my life, that's a non-negotiable. That needs to happen every single day. It's what makes me happy. It's just head to toe.
It lights
resets.
Your fire.
Yes, it does. And there are days like I do walk Oscar every single day. Today it didn't happen, but it's going to happen later this afternoon. But the working out is non-negotiable. It's just I was, would move it around and it didn't happen and 2 weeks would go by and I hadn't been to the gym, and that doesn't bring me joy. I love to work out. And so that's something over the last year that has completely changed, that I do not miss a workout. It's just, and I love it. I love every part of it. And that people are like, what are you doing? What are you taking? Nothing. I mean, that's just, I'm not eating as much as far as like, I'm full. I don't need to eat 3 more helpings of whatever I just put in my body. I'm listening to, and once I did that, that's where the pounds really started to come off for me. I'm small, I'm short too. So like, trust me, I've had
a few pounds shows on us.
Immediately.
Exactly.
And when you're on TV, people tell you.
Yeah. Oh,
the old ladies, the men, you're not fat, you're not thin enough, you're not tall enough, you're this, you're that, all of it. And so you're constantly under a microscope. Same thing goes for a social media platform. Oh, wow, that doesn't look like it fits. You're not really that size, da-da-da-da-da. So I'm not I don't count my calories. I'm not obsessive like that. And for some people that works. It just does not work for me. It's not, what I eat is what my family eats. Orlando cooks. I cook sometimes, but
Ross cooks.
He's just the master in the kitchen. I'm the recipe follower. So, but I'm not making 4 different meals a day to satisfy every appetite. No, I mean, if we have pasta tonight, I'm eating pasta. I'm just not eating 7.
Do they eat?
Oh, they eat really well. Yeah. Okay. And they're not picky. Although like, it's funny because, they're teenagers and AJ's about to be 13 and he is not a picky eater. That kid will try anything. He has an amazing palate. But I feel like my older son one day woke up and was like, I don't like cheese. What? You had queso last night. You just had pizza. What do you mean you don't like cheese? I don't know. I mean, it's just like a thing. Like he takes the cheese off a sandwich, but he'll eat a cheesesteak. Like I don't know. I don't get it, but okay, you're not into cheese today.
Good Mama Worm for letting him be on his journey.
Yeah,
exactly.
But he's a meatitarian. Would eat anything.
That's a great word.
Yes, all meats. Although he does eat fish and sushi and things like that, but meat heavy. He's definitely a meatitarian.
Good old Texas boy.
Yes. You would think my kids are 7th generation Texans. You would. The way that they are just like, and I think it just they're born here, right? So it's just like ingrained in them somehow. But it cracks me up. Yeah, you would think we're cattle ranchers or something. I come from a long line.
Did you see I did cow cuddling last weekend?
Oh my word.
Girl, it was crazy. And they are spiritual. It was with a Hindu group. So they are like, they believe that there's energy and chakra and the hump. And like Lebanon cows. And I was like, oh, it might be harder to eat a burger afterwards. But I ate a burger.
You were at Whataburger the other day, weren't you?
I was at Whataburger.
Give me a Whataburger.
We went to La Lucha afterwards. So there's a great drugstore kind of hamburger there. They even serve with the paper on it. Okay, but yes, I have kind of changed my palate. I've tried to cut back on sugars, alcohol.
Yes.
I feel like the older we get with hormone changes too, alcohol. Rob and I have talked about we can't sleep at night as well.
Yes. Well, the recovery
is
a little bit harder. I will tell you. So my best friend Lori, she's also my CrossFit coach and amazing body, just an incredible human being from head to toe. Love her so much. And people always ask her, what do I do? How am I going to lose the weight? What's the secret? Everybody wants the magic pill.
Yeah.
And she always starts with cut down your alcohol consumption.
And it
that
changes
makes
the
a
way you
huge difference.
eat and sleep and
Yeah.
process and all those things together.
Yeah.
And Rob just went without drinking 40 days and we didn't get divorced. So that
So
was a
here,
good
that's a
thing.
plus. Do you give up for Lent?
He did. He
Yeah.
started a little early because he was sick. And then he quit. He started drinking again on Good Friday. So it was pretty much Lent. But yeah, and it was good. And it made me drink less. And
Yes.
then last night, he's like, oh, do you want a glass of wine? I'm like, no, I don't like the way it makes me feel right now. So it is. And, but I also love the way clothes fit on me. So my mom, I was just raising collections for the Salvation Army. I was involved with that thing and I was getting people to bring clothes. My mom's like, oh, I'm returning all these clothes to you that I outgrew. And I've lost enough weight that I was back in the clothes again.
That's awesome.
So I've been in that process of trying on. But let's talk about clothes. You're open to vintage. You're a
am.
great supporter of local designers.
Yes.
Christy Lynn, you and I
Love.
adore. So let's talk a little bit about clothes and style because I love that. I mean, you and I are, I think, accessories girls.
Yes.
And my wardrobe has expanded, but like this is Zara and this is Christy Lynn and this is Chanel.
Yeah.
High-low.
High-low is definitely where I'm at. I mean, today I am head to toe in Frances Valentine.
Aww.
And I love Elise Aarons. And if you guys have a chance to go visit the Frances Valentine store here at River Oaks, do so. But Elise was best friends with Kate Spade. They were college roommates together.
That vibe.
You can, like, when you meet Elise, and I had the pleasure of interviewing her a few years ago, and she's an absolute doll. But, you know, I love supporting, obviously, female brands.
Yes.
Small business, local when I can. But small business is really where my heart is. And I'm not saying I don't shop at Zara. I'm trying. I'm really trying to do less.
Yes, I am.
I'm trying that.
To be sustainable.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I do Target finds. I'll do a Walmart find. And of course, we're all shopping on Amazon. I do all of that. But look, when I find a piece, whether it's a purse, a jewelry item, a piece of clothing that I know is going to be sort of a capsule piece that I'm going to have in my wardrobe, the splurge is where it's at.
Yeah.
Because it will stay in your wardrobe forever. The very first Chanel blazer I ever purchased for myself was at a consignment shop in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Love it.
And I still have it today.
Awesome.
I still send all of my things to that consignment shop majority of the time. She's a very good friend of mine. Because I used to live in Salt Lake, but it's a beautiful purple color, and it is in my closet forever. Like I will never. Why? Because I would never purchase that anywhere else. Nor did they ever find their way into a consignment store. And if they do, they're just as pricey as it would be in the retail store. Right. So when those things happen, get them. I love shopping vintage, although I'm not great at it. I wish I was, you know, maybe pop into those vintage stores a little bit more. All of my Chanel bags come from you. My Hermes bag, my little crossbody.
Oh, I love this shout out. Thank you.
Come from you.
Yes.
My bracelets come from you. So, you know, I feel like when you know the value is there and it's authenticated and it's something that you know you're going to keep in the wardrobe, do it. Absolutely do it.
And then if you ever change what you like or have
because
something
I've sold
else
to you.
Yes, because I think that's the other thing. When you buy something that has value, like when I'm done with this, I can't do anything with it.
Right.
Whereas it's basically going to a donation place because it doesn't have much value. But if you buy something that has a designer brand that you already bought pre-owned, when you go to sell it, you're not taking as much of a hit.
Right.
And it has a value that you can pay it forward and move it on to somebody else.
Absolutely. I mean, and I will say this too, Orlando's Rolex that I purchased for him was through Rob and you, and that was an incredible vintage piece.
And it's probably gone up in value.
Oh, I'm sure
it was.
I bet Rob would remember the details on this watch, but it was like in the 1960s, box, papers, all the things. And Orlando's a watch guy, so he's not a spender. He married the spender, And,
Well, we got to have the balance.
you've got to have the
we got
balance.
that in our family.
But I feel like as I've gotten older,
Mhm.
my purchases are not always on impulse, but they're smarter in the fact that like where I'm spending the money on a great pair of black pants that I know are going to be in my closet forever.
Absolutely.
Shoes, I love a splurge on a shoe. I mean, that also is a non-negotiable because when you have good shoes on, your feet don't hurt.
I love that brand you referred me to with the white pumps.
Oh,
what is that one?
Sarah Flint.
Yeah, they're pretty
Yes,
comfortable for
super
being
comfortable.
high. Mhm.
Yes, and cushioned.
Yes, I like the
you
cushion.
spend money on shoes, your feet don't hurt, and they're not going to fall apart.
Yes. So, unfortunately, our time's coming to an end, and
That
we
went
have to
by
move
so
on
fast.
to our next adventure. But any parting words to people considering what their next move is in life? Because I feel like you're great at how you do it with such ease.
Thank you. A pivot or the next chapter is refreshing. I mean, what diamonds don't grow, or what is this say? I mean, how do you get a diamond? It has to be under pressure, right? I mean, change is uncomfortable, but it's also so rewarding at the same time. And if you're considering a change, whether that's a career change or a haircut, I mean, what's to lose? Do it.
I love it. And I love that you have found there's a term called ikigai. Have you heard of it?
Yes, you gave me the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you sent me the
And
book.
I love it's when you figure out what the world needs and what makes you come alive and what you can get paid to do and how you make a difference.
Yeah.
All those things just reach this place that you're able to flow and continually do what you're doing. And there's work involved with it still.
Yeah.
But it's pretty amazing when it happens. And I think you're a great example of that.
Thank you, Danae.
Well, thanks for sharing. You guys keep living your most authentic life. Keep it real, and we'll see you next week.